Hello, everybody, and welcome to I guess our closeout stream for version 4.x. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tim or Timon. I am the volunteer project manager for Foundry, and I'm hoping that for a change, I actually sorted this all out ahead of time, and you can actually hear me with audio. I'll take the lack of screaming in chat as of the fact that I actually managed to sort all of this all out. Excellent. So today I'm going to go through first a quick overview of some of the changes in 4.11 and 4.12. So up here, you'll notice that on my screen, I have Pathfinder Society Shattering Golden Chains. This is the most recent release of the Pathfinder Society series, and the first in, well, fingers crossed, hope, a series of modules that Paizo will be putting out to support Pathfinder Society play. I will say that this particular one, the whole Pathfinder Society thing, this is a test for them. And when you buy this, you don't get the actual scenario. You just get art for all the monsters, all the other things other than the scenario. And you might say, hey, that doesn't seem right, or they're trying to charge me twice. But the thing is that Pathfinder Society is kind of a lost leader for Paizo. There is a significant fraction of the community that gets it for free. If you go to your local gaming store, your venture officer happens to have it, they can give it to you to play. Doesn't really exist on the online world. But you know, a lot of the people who are running Pathfinder Society, or subscribers in particular, already get stuff for free. If it was included in this, then it would kind of be devaluing some of the bonuses that they get. Now, if all the subscribers went and said, hey, you should give us the Paizo module for free, I wouldn't personally complain, so go do that thing. None of that's our choice, but I will say that for me, the biggest part of preparing for Pathfinder Society play has always been getting the tokens, getting the arts, getting the map all prepared. This does all of that for me, which is awesome. So when you install it, it'll create sort of these areas, and of course, I actually ended up clearing out the macro that that lets me actually bother to do the updates for this. that was not me thinking very well, but I wonder if I just turn the module off, I can get it back again. Because it's kind of cool to show how the module works and how you can change it for the different challenge point ratings, which is kind of a niggly little thing that has been nicely automated. No, I don't get the cool chat pop-up message. I think one of the Ians are on here. If there's a quick way for me to get the macro, let me know. Because obviously I didn't do the smart thing and save it when I put everything in. Anyways, it comes with Michael Gelfi audio, which is kind of awesome. So the audio is all there. I selected one of the challenge ratings, and so you can see it has boxes where the enemies are supposed to go or where traps are supposed to go. It's all in there. They all have art that goes along with them. All the different labels areas are labeled, which is something that you wouldn't get normally on the scenario itself. Not that I want to spoil things too much, but yeah, so very cool. Yes, CP calculation. Well, CP calculation isn't automated. When you run it, you say what challenge point rating you want it at, and then it'll adjust the actors and drop in extra actors or make all the changes to make it all work. It was very cool, and I really wanted to demo it, and I forgot exactly where the macro lives, so that's on me. I had this all set up, and then I tested some stuff, and then I deleted some stuff, and that was one of the things I deleted, so a little bit of embarrassment for me. But when you install it, it'll give you a macro. It comes up in the chat window and says, hey, click on this to adjust everything. So someone who's now earned their 5th glyph, I wish I would have had this 5 glyphs ago. But why don't we sort of move into, it's in the macros folder. Oh, right, in the macros folder, duh. Here we go, import tokens with scaling. Obviously, it's in the macros folder. That's just the only place that it would make sense for it to be. So there we go. You get a little pop-up. It says, which of the things do you want? Right now, there's two scenarios provided, 413, 414. This is 414, so I select Shattering Golden Chains. And actually, I'm going to drop down to the first floor because you get a better view with all the enemies here. Right now, it's on 5, 6, 16 to 18 challenge points. Let's bump it up to 28 to 32, and you'll see, hey, it popped in extra enemies. It changed the levels of enemies, so very, very cool stuff. So there we go. Yeah, it's kind of awesome that it does it all dynamically and it's all sorted out. So very, very exciting and very nice because you can do it on the fly. Like literally, if I was running a game and someone dropped out, I could be like, oh, yeah. So now there's that many points, and we'll just continue on. You'll have to go back and delete the actors that you've already defeated, but everything's adjusted in real time. You are good to go. Drentel is not a wizard. He is a bot pretending to be a wizard. Let's be honest here. So moving on to the actual changes from this. So 411, 412. What have we added in? So the macro is module specific, correct? Yes, the macro is module specific. It's coded for only that one thing. Yeah, he has the hat and everything. No, it's very neat. And so I think that the plan, and don't quote me on this because I definitely do not represent Paizo, I am just a volunteer. I think the plan is that if it's successful, then they want to offer it sort of as a kind of season subscription thing. So you'd have to go and buy each of them individually, but if you bought the pack, then for that whole season, you would get the art, you would get everything set up, you would get the audio, and it would update as the scenarios sort of update throughout the season. I don't know that that's going to be the actual model they're going with, but I think that's at least one of them that they're definitely looking at doing. Yeah, so what did I do here? Oh, was I doing something silly? Yes, I was doing something silly. Never mind me. So right, 411, 412. So some of the stuff that happened, getting myself actually back on track here. First cool thing that I'd like to demonstrate that we actually ended up doing. Let's go and check on the upper floor. Oh, cleared off my actors. Let's drop in Ezrin, Kyra, and Valeros. So Kyra, let's just say for the sake of it, she gave up on Sarenrae, so we can now delete Sarenrae. Am I sure? Yes. Oh, I'm thinking about it again. Maybe I should put her back. Well, hey, look, the button to replace my god is here, so. I can drag Sarenrae back in. So yeah, now you can either edit the item like you could before, change anything that you want, or you can delete it, and that'll give you the button to go back and sort of do everything you want. So all of these things before that people complained, oh, well, I can't get back, I can't get that cool button. Well, good news, you can now get that button back again. If I wanted to start PFS play, what season should I start at? That's a loaded question. It doesn't matter. Someone recently asked me, oh, you know, if I want to start season 4, should I just start season 4 in order? And I'm like, well, the problem is the level tiers change. So you'd be able to do the first 2, and then if you were at the end of level 3, you could then level up to do the next 2, but then the 5th one in the season goes back to 1 to 4. So really, it doesn't matter. Just play whichever ones you have a character in range for. So one of the nice things to do is play some of the Metaplot ones in order. They're all tagged Metaplot. I'm actually running a group through season 2 Metaplot right now. We're about halfway through, and that's kind of a cool little thing to do, but it's not necessary or required. So you just go with whatever scenario is offered. No, that is Uprooted Grunt. That is definitely brand new. It was added in 411, so nice, cool little feature. One of the other ones, so let's pull up Valeros here because he got some weapons. a complaint that we had before. In here, it would not say what the reload value is. So there, the reload value is now displayed as part of people's strikes. Continuing on with the strike page, you'll notice we have these new buttons. I'm having a problem to update to the newest version of, I don't know, I'm assuming Foundry. That's because there is not a version of Pathfinder for Foundry version 11. That'll be coming a little later in the stream. So if you've installed Foundry version 11, well, Pathfinder 2nd edition does not work on it. So now when we go to something like a longsword, which is slashing but versatile piercing, and we want it to do piercing damage, we can just swap that over for free, and voila. Now when I do my damage, it'll roll it as piercing damage instead of slashing damage. I'm trying to update to PF2e 4.12. If you're on version 10, the latest version, I don't know why you would have any problems. Definitely hasn't been reported. Same with Tricky Pick. So with Modular's also now done. So the way that this works, because it takes an action to shift modular, you can select which modular one you want from here, and then you actually have to click the button and say, I'm going to use this to remind you this takes an action. And you'll see it changes over to your check mark, and it'll be piercing. But if I just select bludgeoning and I don't change, it'll still be on piercing. So I have to do that extra click to remind me it takes an action. Whereas up here, I just click and it's done. So yeah, that's a cool little feature added in 4.12. What else do we have? I'm pretty sure I deleted something by accident, but I'm going to make Farah here visible and damage. Oh no, the Ifrit took damage and I actually meant it for it to be this guy. Well, let's just undo that. So stolen from Crucible, we can now undo damage exactly in the chat. And this will take care of immunities, weaknesses, resistance. It'll just take all the damage you applied and reverse it. So it's easy, easy, easy to undo. I will say we've been watching some of Atro's Crucible streams for a while. I got to play Crucible in a play test a couple months ago with some of the other moderators and helpers. Cody and I very successfully split the party, ended up aggroing a lot of enemies. It was a whole lot of fun to play that system. So I'm interested to see how much it's changed. But we'll definitely be watching all of the Crucible reveals and trying to steal a bunch of stuff. I guess I could... why don't we do that? I don't know if this has... Oh, it's already in there. Whoops, I don't know why I added it as a cantrip. There we go. So there. Or we can change our variant. Yeah. So that one's one for Tikale, demonstrating one of those. Although I don't know that that's totally new. So one of the common things that we were asked about in the past is Compendium browser. I don't want to use all the sources. How do I deal with that? So now in the settings, there's a couple of subtabs because there's a lot of things, but you can now filter everything, all your sources. If you don't want them there, you can just take them off, and then this will give you the sources. Any improvements to AoE spells? I'm not sure what you're looking for in AoE spells. I mean, nothing super in particular that I can think of off the top of my head that we've changed. So yeah, you can now exclude content by sourcebook. It's only in the Compendium browser because we can't go through and lock things out. But as Compendium folders come online, we might try and sort things a little bit better so that at least your players, if they're exploring the Compendia folders, rather than everything being in one folder, it'll be in folders by books. It'll take us a while to get there because we do have something like 20,000 things in the system that'll have to get sorted. But there's that. What else do we have? Oh, so hazards. If we create hazards, we do have a couple of new things. So I can create my new hazard actor, and you'll notice that a lot more now is locked out. So the lock does more things, which is kind of handy. but it automatically adds object immunities to any new hazard that's been created. I think, is there a hazard up here? Are you a hazard? Yes. Yeah, so you can see object immunities now sort of are all built in. And then there's hardness. So, oh, I probably should turn this on in here, otherwise it won't work. And we can pull Valeros up here to the trap. And he can very much not like the trap. So we can roll his attack on the trap. And it hits, so we can roll damage. For a total of 11. Takes 1 damage because it has a hardness of 10. So hardness is now one of the things that we have in immunities, weaknesses, and resistances. Yes, so if for some reason you have a weird hazard that does not have object immunities, you can remove it using the rural element subsystem. It's easy enough to suppress. I don't know that we've put exactly how to do that in the wiki yet. Oh, good idea. Let's upgrade that sword. Will he hit this time? Nope. There we go, that's much better. Only for 16 damage. But there you go, because it's adamantine, only half of the hardness applies. Is hardness only implemented for hazards? Nope. Oh, that's bad. I didn't turn on the token art. There you go. So the animated statue has hardness 6, reduces it by 3 because it's half hardness. So no, it's just hardness just works now. And I think those are all the big things that I can remember from 4.11 and 4.12. So that's some of the stuff that's been done. That being said, 4.11 and 4.12 were pretty big on the back end for wrapping stuff up. Yes, back here, that's Beaker. He's very happy to be on stream with us. So why don't right now we launch into a little bit of an overall update. Oops, I just wanted to turn off the music here for a second. So back to our project update. So things that I'm going to just cover quickly, some of the major achievements that we've had. I'll throw up on there specifically the updates I just showed from 4.11 and 4.12, but I do want to talk about all the big things because it sort of gets lost when we do relatively rapid updating what we've covered in the last 4 or 5 months. So we will sort of skip ahead. Why are you? Maybe I'm going to switch this back for a second. Apparently, I moved my box a little bit. There we go. That's better. Okay, so the major achievements that we've had in version 10. So we added Tagify pretty much everywhere. Before, adding traits was a little bit of a pain. Now you can sort of click on almost any bar, type in the start of a trait, it'll add it, it'll apply the things that needs to be applied because of it. It's kind of fantastic. NPC sheets, they got a button to view art, so it's much easier to show off. You've probably been using this for so long that you don't realize that it actually was only a couple months ago that we added it. Temporary hit points now show up as a cool little blue thin bar on top of the actual hit point bar. It was the start of V10 where we added hearing detection modes and tremor sense. Rule elements now can affect spells. That's something that's from V10. And we added a front end for a couple of the rule elements. The biggest one, of course, being flat modifier. That's the one that's most commonly used. So that was kind of a big thing to make it far more accessible. We do have plans over time to add front ends for more, but it's one of those things that takes time. It works right now. Not a huge priority, but something we'd like to do. Again, someone looking for a beginner project to jump in and help on, that's definitely a possible one, extending some of that work. We added rarity colors and levels displayed both in search and on the character sheets. We had this for NPCs for a little while. People said we really, really wanted it, so we finally broke down and said, okay, we'll do all the CSS modifications. So you can now have colors indicating the different rarities that match up with the colors from the book. That's the palette we selected. So if you go and you get something unique, it's going to be that purple color. The rare ones are going to be blue. Uncommon ones are going to be orange. And that's a Paizo design decision, not an S design decision. We're trying to sort of stay true to how things work. Quick alchemy, we added that to crafting. Before that was not a thing. We added a GM vision mode so that the default in Foundry was really, really dark, but now there's a toggle and a hotkey to make that vision much brighter, much easier to see as a GM in a very dark scene. Flat-footed became fully automated to the point that we removed the toggle. The toggle can come back in Theater of the Mind mode, but for the most part, did the stream die? No. Oh, good. That would have been weird. So flat-footed's gone, toggle removed unless you turn it back on with Theater of the Mind mode. We added a role inspector. So it makes it, again, another thing that's much easier for people to start building rule elements because you can learn what things you can use to trigger off of. Super helpful both for the developing side and for anyone who just wants to make cool stuff. Effects can now be hidden from players, so you can create an effect, drag it onto their player, but you can hide it so only the GM can see it. The rules will still apply to it, but the player won't be knowing what's going on until, say, a disease gets identified. We've added system support for persistent damage, so persistent damage module no more, as well as for specific homebrew damage types. This is when we started doing immunities, weaknesses, and resistance automation. So getting that all in, that was it started at the start of V10, and it was worked on very consistently for the first half of our development. As you can see, hardness is now in. There's a couple of edge cases. Getting the modular and versatile stuff to actually work. That's one of our last hurdles between that and hardness before making this a default on sort of thing. I don't know that we're quite ready yet, and I'm not going to commit to saying that we're going to try and make it so it's not opt-in until after the remaster, because we know that damage rules are changing, and so to turn it on as a default, then as soon as the remaster comes on, turn it off as a default until we can sort of get caught up seems a little premature. We added in the alternate ancestry boost and new voluntary flaws. I think it only took us a couple of days to do that, which I was pretty impressed with the team, because we had literally no advance notice that that one was coming out. We've locked down focus spells so that now they belong to focus entries only. You can try and drag focus spells elsewhere, but it's not going to work. We rewrote most of the action macros and now use under the hood functions, which means now what you do when you pull those action macros out for, say, shove, it'll call a system function that runs shove code, which means that if we ever update shove, you won't have to update your macro because the macro is going to call something in the system. And we think that's actually a really nice quality of life thing. Nicola was very, very busy adding much more support for all of that. GM notes now exist secretly on items. So if you have something that's cursed or you want to make a particular note that you don't want to reveal to a player, that is now a possibility. I mean, they can always sort of export the object and then read the JSON and find out what's written in there, but that's pretty that's pretty extensive and a lot more work than I think your average person's going to do. We created ephemeral effect rule elements. These are things that exist only for one role. We got rid of ritual spellcasting entries, so you no longer have to make a ritual spellcast. Instead, what you're going to do is you'll sort of pull that information. You pull a ritual in and it automatically generates the thing. Weapons now can pull rule elements from ammunition. So if you have a special ammunition that does something, it'll then be added once you select it as the type of ammunition, so that the strike that you use that ammunition for will have it. So you don't have to add it to the weapon. You don't have to make a bunch of weapons. So long as it's on the ammunition that you're using, it'll propagate downwards, which is a nice little quality of life feature. In the encounter tracker, the active turn will be highlighted with the alliance color. So if it's an enemy, if it's neutral, or if it's positive, it'll show up in a different color. And in addition, in the encounter tracker itself, you'll now see who's targeting whom, and there's a targeting toggle. Clumsy now automatically applies to any PC that's wielding an oversized weapon. So that's sort of a long-standing request, thanks mostly to Amiri users, and one that we've happily now taken care of. The books that we added, so the Travel Guide, Impossible Lands, and Firebrands all came in. Bounty 20, which was sort of the end of the bounty line, and Quest 14, which is the restart of the quest line. Those are both in. There is a 11 Pathfinder Society scenarios. 4 through 14 all got it in. And I wrapped up finishing the Pathfinder Society backlog. So every actor from every Pathfinder Society that's been put out is now in the system. And they've all been audited, because the early ones did have some data entry mistakes. They've all gone through. I'm not saying that they're perfect, mostly because I did it. And it was the equivalent of doing 1.5 bestiaries worth of work, but it's all done. We've also added all of Bloodlords, Gatewalkers, and all of Stolen Fate that's been released so far. All of those are available as premium modules thanks to Sigil and Paizo. We also added the actors for Shadow at Sundowns, which came out just right at the very, very start of this, and the Enmity Cycle, which came out literally a week ago, I think. We also got in the Treasure Vault and the Fist of the Ruby Phoenix remasters. So that's a lot of stuff. And I'm probably missing other stuff that we managed to get in somewhere that I'm simply not remembering. In any case, it's a lot. It's all there. And like everything else in the system, it's all free. And all on release day. I think that's an important one too. I won't say that we always released on release day, but it was always in the system on release day. So 4.11 and 4.12, a bunch of the stuff that I demonstrated. So again, Ancestry's heritage, class, backgrounds, deity, all from the PC sheet can be deleted and re-added. Reload values now showing up. There's the chat message button to undo damage, the subtabs for selecting sources in the Compendium browser, the ability to exclude source content from the Compendium browser, modular and versatile damage buttons on all strikes. There's still some versatile stuff that we're working around. I blame entirely, the switch scythe for that. Hazards can roll initiative, damage reduction from hardness, both for hazards and for things with hardness or constructs. And object immunities are automatically added to hazards. Is the Treasure Vault going to get icons and art? At some point. Mostly it's just a time-consuming task. We've got the Rexhard license. We just sort of match up the icons when we have time. It's a lot of stuff that they added. Yeah, it's literally just, someone will do it at some point. If someone's looking for a brand new, relatively easy data entry task, feel free to stick up your hand in the Discord, and we'll see if we can't get you started. So moving forward, I never actually go and I like thanking our team, but I really need to reach out and thank our translators. So hello, translators. I'd like to point out that of the systems that I think have somewhat strong support, French, German, both very, very, very strong support. Relecto has been a huge person for almost organizing all of the translators. We've got Spanish, Portuguese. I put Chinese in quotes because I know that there is a translation. I don't know if it's Cantonese or Mandarin. It's one of those languages. I'm just not sure which. Polish, Russian, Italian. We just added Ukrainian and Thai. Those are the ones that I know of. I'm sure that there's more translators. Those are the ones that we have translators in our translator channel for. If you are doing a translation, want to stay up to date, let one of us on the Discord know. We'll be happy to add you with the translator role to the translator channel. Mostly it's just pop-ups that let you know when we've changed something in the language localization files, so that you can say, oh, okay, they just added some stuff. Here's the changes. I can go add them in the localization changes for my language. So question then becomes, what's coming with V11? So this just happened here. 8096, we just pushed forward the commit that will allow us to run in version 11 for the developer branch. If you want to download, master, and install, you can now start up Pathfinder 2nd Edition using a version of the software that you compile yourself in version 11. It's not feature complete. There's still several errors that we've got to work through. There's things that we need to fix. But if you really just want to download and say, hey, look, I've got a copy that works, there's a copy that sort of kind of almost works. The big thing, our database query language. So we do all those cool things where it pops up all sorts of feats. That was based on certain functions that existed in AnyDB that don't exist in LevelsDB. So there's a lot of recoding we have to do there. So if you go and start playing around with things that are going to be granting feats based on your class, that's just not going to work at this point. We've frozen feature development and data entry on V10. So if you push anything to the repository, it's going to be rejected until we're ready to accept stuff for V11. We're working on it, but it does not run well. Don't run it until we post and create a stable release. Your data will be safe, your data will be recoverable, unless you go through. Atro explained it all on the stream, that it'll keep sort of a copy in AnyDB that you can always revert to and then fix up until you decide to get rid of those backups. Don't do this channel. There is no reason right now to play on V11. There's no cool things that we've added to the system. There's nothing like that. We promise we will let you know. And once we're ready, I'll happily showcase it all on a stream. So we haven't tested it. You shouldn't run on it. Why is losing the query function going to have performance implications? It won't work anymore. So right now, there's specific calls that we make in a query language that's specific to AnyDB that will pull things from AnyDB and does a search for, say, all the wizard feats. Right now, none of that works because the function that we call doesn't exist in LevelsDB. About V11, with the changes to core compendium handling, is the super excellent compendium handling you guys developed going to change somehow? Not really. The way that they've done it is kind of smart. So the way that references happen now work functionally on the UUID, which is like the 16-digit code after every item. And we haven't played around with it yet, but version 11 is supposed to be smart enough that it will just use that part and will search through all of the structured data and find the thing that's being referred to. Oh, an if question. No, it shouldn't have any performance implications other than stuff doesn't work right now. So what are we looking at adding for V11? And again, this is kind of our planned wish list. This is not a guarantee that this is all going to happen, but looking forward, this is what we'd like to do. So adding in afflictions, so supports for poisons and diseases. That's something that will happen at some time during V11. Definitely not right at the start of the release, but sometime. Kingdom management, this is being built in part to go with the Kingmaker premium content module. It will reside in the system so that you can use it in the system because it really is a system subsystem. So that will be available for anyone to use. It'll be based on the Kingmaker rules, but should still be useful. We're looking at integrating a party sheet, so it'll have certain things that you can open up at a glance, you know what's going on with the party. Materials and then runes are going to be getting revamps. It'll make it a lot easier for anyone who wants to make custom materials or custom runes. So that's something that's definitely in the pipeline. Multi-checks. So right now, if you're doing checks and there's like a check for Arcana and a check for Diplomacy and a check for a lore skill, you have to make 3 buttons, 3 clicks. We are now working on multi-checks, which should be out pretty close to the start. So all of that can be combined into one button. You can pop it all into chat and people can decide which one to roll, but the GM doesn't then have to pop 5 things to chat. They can just pop 1 and 5 buttons will appear. For modules we'd like to eat, flat checks, PF2e dailies, target damage, and staves. We want to take those from modules and bring it to core. We're also looking at doing a more robust trading interface. This might start working with merchants. I don't know. This is an idea that we're fleshing out. It's hard because, at least for merchants, there aren't strict and fast rules. There's lots of things that can be done, but this is a direction that we're sort of pushing towards. Other things we're looking at, familiar abilities, and maybe adding in the ability to do specific familiars. NPC adjustments, and by that I mean rather than elite and weak, drag and drop templates. So, hey, you want to turn to a vampire? Boom, you're a vampire. Hey, this character is going to be a dwarf. Drag this on. Well, now that guard's no longer human. It's now a dwarf based on the rules from the Game Mastery Guide. We're looking to take a bunch of the effects that we have and crunching them down. We've started to learn a lot. We've redeveloped some of the back end of the rule element system. So there's a lot of power that we can bring in that we haven't so far. One of the things that's kind of interesting, and we only have a couple of implementations for, is something that we're internally calling sub-features. The idea is that it's simple, small changes that don't need a full rule element, but will do a small thing. And then we're thinking about starting to finally look at spell slot generation. However, I will caveat this. We are not going to touch it until after the remaster because we know that spells are definitely going to be changed. And chances are the remaster and what they're doing will make spell slot generation for us a lot easier to implement. Oh, let me see if I go through. Any questions in here? Yeah, Compendia, it'd be a nice one, but yeah, big lift, lots of things to do. How does the team feel about the remaster work? It'll be interesting. We're going to treat it like an errata in a lot of cases. Until we know the full extent of what's going to happen with remaster, it's really hard to comment. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know how much we can preserve, but the system is official. The remaster will be the official version. So we're going to be pushing forward with that. Until the remaster happens, we'll follow the rules in the books as is. If you really, really hate the remaster, then unfortunately you're going to be locked somewhere on V11 with some sort of version. Yeah, predicated weaknesses are coming, so exploiting vulnerability for a thaumaturge will likely be able to come. Things like spell amps. Again, psychic amps are something that'll probably wait until after the spell remaster, just because it's a lot of work, and if all of a sudden it radically changes, it's a lot of work that doesn't help. Any design wishes, ideas on how you want to implement target damage, just in a way that makes sense. Far pipeline, things like talisman, drag and dropping them to attach them what they're on, something we'd like to do, something we want to do. It's just not a trivial thing to do for several reasons, but it's definitely something we're looking for. Possibilities for relics, or is items and items still hard? Same answer as for talismans. Relics can mostly be done with rule elements, so it can be done manually. I know that's a pain. It's just one of those things. Relics are an optional rule that it's just hasn't received the attention. What is slot generation? Well, when you level up, you get a certain number of slots at your level and they'll pop up. Same as sort of when you go and get new skill increases or like skill slots, those pop up. So for spells, it would pop up. Yeah, so that's all the questions from chat. So I'm going to take a second, and as it's the sort of end of our thing, or the end of a version, I will plug our Extra Life charity donations for 2023. We were on the ball this year and did start. We don't expect donations to start rolling in until the formal Extra Life event sort of in November, but wanted to let everyone know, yes, we do have it going on. People have already started donating. We're just under $1,000 as a team right now, which is awesome. If you want to donate, the team link's right there. Let me see, maybe I can copy. Oh, no, I can't copy it from here. So yeah, that's the short link. If you want to find it, all the information on the Extra Life, all the team members are in the Discord pinned in the announcements channel. If you are American, you can donate to anyone. If you're Canadian, you'll have to donate to me because I'm resident in Canada. That's the only way you can get a tax receipt. If you don't care about a tax receipt, then go nuts and donate to whomever you want. If you're in Europe, I have no idea how your laws work. I have no idea if donating to a charity not in Europe works. So go ask a tax lawyer and not me, because I am very much not that thing. But we have done well in the past historically. So here are gold medals from 2021 and 2022 for Extra Life that I'm happy to show off on behalf of the community, and to thank you all for your generosity, because we have done phenomenal. I think we were easily the largest fundraiser for under the Paizo banner last year. It was just incredible. Yeah, so the donations to the system developers, we talked about this when we first started the system. Money makes things hard. This is a hobby. We don't want to turn it into a job, although sometimes it kind of feels like it. Instead of monetary donations, please just be patient with us. If you have requests, ask them politely. We always love to hear that people are enjoying the system. I will thank the community because you made all the difference in Paizo finally recognizing this as a valuable path for commerce for them. And I don't know exact numbers because even that sort of thing doesn't get shared with me. I do know that it has been a very, very strong success. The sales of the modules from both Sigil and Foundry have been fantastic. I think the community's got amazing stuff out of it. I mean, the bestiary token pack, only on Foundry can you get every piece of art, including art that exists nowhere else in Paizo's library. That alone is phenomenal. I know that there's more art planned in the pipeline. I know that Spartan is just very, very excited to get back to making more tokens. So let Foundry know that that's what you want, because I think as soon as Kingmaker's done, that'll be coming up. Yeah, a lot of people balk at the price at like $50 or $60 or whatever it is, but you're getting, what, 20,000 or 2,000 pieces of art per piece of art. It's it's like cents. It's amazing. Oh, and I won't promise this because I really can't, but I know that Foundry and Paizo both asked my opinion, and they're sort of in line with this. When the remaster happens, the bestiary art remapping will happen. There'll be a couple of new monsters. None of the art that you have right now is planning on going away. None of the monsters, if they get dropped from the remaster, will be going away. We'll separate out the monsters into separate compendiums, but the original monster from bestiaries 1, 2, and 3 will still exist in the system somewhere. The mapping software for the art will still map to those pieces of art. And I think that anyone who owns the bestiaries will get a small upgrade to their module for free that will add new art to the new features in the bestiaries unless Paizo releases like 4,000 of them. Yeah, the one thing I'll say, Paizo art is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. So moving on from that, I will now open up the floor to any other questions that you have regarding the system, regarding version, the next version that's coming out, and PF2e 5.0 on Foundry. If you want to know when it's happening, soon. It's the best that I'm going to say. We still haven't fully scoped all the changes that we need. Like I said, if you're super keen, you are welcome to hop on the repository, go and download, build, install, and have everything broken. But you are welcome to do that thing. Otherwise, we just ask for your patience, and I promise my cool little graphic will update and all sorts of stuff. Does greater distracting shot for flat-footed, is that automated, or do I still need to manually apply it as the conditions are met? I have literally no idea what it does, so I'm not going to try and answer that, but maybe one of the Ians can hop in if they know the answer. Is it possible for my cat to become a familiar? I don't know that he'd like that. He is a very happy kitten. He's relatively new. Yeah. His name is Beaker because when he meows, he sounds exactly like Beaker from the Muppets. It's very, very cute. He's good friends with Sterling, and our third cat rescue is not a fan of Beaker at all. I'm hoping that they learn to love. Can something to track who does and does not have a reaction left be added to the combat tracker? I'm thinking that we're probably not going to go that direction. There is a module that does reactions. The problem is that there's so many variations to reactions. Someone could probably do it, but we very much don't want to necessarily be tracking actions. Reactions might be easier to do. I'm not sure. It's something we'd have to think about to do right. If it was simply a matter of adding a counter, we could do that. The problem is, when rogues get specific rogue reactions from, say, preparation as an action, or if you get the fighter who can do reactions once a round or once a turn, it gets a little bit hard. What's the best way to help out with the V11 update code-wise? There's not much. We've got ideas. We've already pushed a bunch of commits that are going to make changes. Trying to pull more people in immediately right now, unless you are some sort of TypeScript wizard, probably would take a little bit of time, and things will get fixed up before then. It's much better if you sort of look at it as, hey, there's this thing that's lacking from the system, and I think I'd like to add that, and then start talking with one of the code leads, either Sharker or Soup would be the best ones, and say, hey, I want to get involved. I'd like to do this thing. Is this reasonable? Is this viable? How do I do this going forward? And that's the best way to get involved with the team. Well, thank you. We're happy to put out such a cool system. Thanks to all of you for playing it and providing suggestions, and thanks to Paizo for making such an awesome game to play. Very excited for the future and the changes, other than when they go out of their way to make sure that those of us developing the system suffer and have to write entirely new code for some cool thing that they wanted to add. So with that, I'll give it another minute, but hopefully I've answered your questions for now. If you do have more questions, feel free to come and message us on Discord, unless that question is V11 coming out right away? The answer to that is check the pins. I promise we will announce as soon as it's ready for people to start beta testing and when we feel it's ready for open consumption. What else? I think that's probably all of it. I promise that as soon as they start making a V12 prototype available, my flowchart will come back. I'd like to think that it's a gold standard. I think it's the gold standard for coding projects in general. If you actually go and look at the quality of code and the level of sort of professional code maintenance that occurs, and really the lack of technical debt, thanks to sort of either making the conscious decision to split off stuff that's would need to be refactored into modules instead, the extensibility of Foundry really helps. But let alone an open source free project, this is kind of a benchmark for all sort of projects going forth. So with that, I wish you a pleasant evening. Feel free to come and message us on either the Foundry Discord for any technical questions, or if you want to talk about the system, like I said, other than when are we going to be fully updated and ready to go, all on the community Discord. We're always happy to chat. So thanks to you all for watching the stream. Hopefully you found it informative and interesting. And I look forward to catching you all next time. Bye for now.